Vincent Stein at the Dark Sphere GT. And of course, this Git was running War Horde. And I do want to say shout out to the chat live right here. Whoa, to all you Gits right there. So, of course, interact with that. I'm here. I'm seeing you guys now. I'll let a couple more questions and comments accumulate before I hit that up. So, of course, let me pull up this Git's path to victory and this path as a whole. So we come over here to the Dark Sphere. Vincent got third place. Really high scoring loss here we can see on his path to victory. At the GT, this was at the UK circuit. So shout out to the UKTC style terrain. Personally, I haven't played on it, but we did have to get to see it. We do get to see it with the player packet. We have Vincent Stein here. So let's take a look at his list real quick before we get stuck in. So let me look at this too. We have War Horde with 2 beast bosses, Ghazghkull Thraka, 2 war bosses, and then one of those war bosses does have Follow Me Lad. 2 10-man units of Beast Snagga boys, followed by 1 big brick of 20 boys. Love to see the mobs getting on the field. We have 3 trucks, 1 battle wagon. Yes, shout out to Battlewagon, right? I'm actually glad Battlewagon made its appearance again. Tell me what you guys, you personally, whoever this is watching, feel about the Battlewagon. I'm always up and down about it. I personally love the model, love how it plays on the field, but I don't end up finding it on my competitive list yet. So whenever I see people running it, it's great to see. Now, I will give a little bit of my personal, let's see if I can actually pull it up here, is because it doesn't actually show in the player packet from what I can see the UKTC board, because I do have the player packet a little bit here. But it doesn't show like the actual terrain layout. But if you've seen it, you can see that there are big L shapes that are pretty good for staging up with the whole entire battle wagon, being able to hide it, or rolling wide right up to it. If battle wagon get popped, 20 boys can get out of it. And so usually there's like a big open spot, the UKTC, and then the other spot there's usually buildings set up where you can kind of stage up and run up. So battle wagons seem to be very popular on UKTC terrain. If you feel different, let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just what I think what it is. But for the most part, battle wagons are universally pretty dang solid. Just straight data sheet, right? Just straight data sheet. Battle wagons are awesome. For 160 points, getting a T12 model with 16 wounds with built-in armor of contempt, freaking awesome. And having a 22 unit transport capacity. So of course we assume the boys are going up in there right alongside Gaz, that usually plays as like a mid-table kind of bullying stage up with War Horde. So I love that. But we also have a Breaker Boy unit probably getting a war boss, in my opinion. I would put the war boss on there and need them to see. But you can also see on this list there is another 5-man unit of knobs. So really, there's plenty of places these war bosses could go. I do know that some people like to use just breaker boys without a war boss. I think maybe it's matchup dependent, right? Matchup dependent for the most part. If you really need their damage to go off, then you're going to use them. We have 2 5-man units of flash kits to really fill out those SWAT teams. 3 units of minimum size units of Gretchen, trying to get those unit activations. OC, a lot of bodies on the field. You can see there's just a lot of OC on this list nonetheless, which is something that kind of comes with War Horde a lot of the time. You don't really think about that as an org player yourself, but when you're going at the enemy sees it, they're like, dang, he has a lot of battle line, a lot of 10 OC, and then the Grout's got 10 OC. 2 OC per model. Sorry, I'm saying 10 OC, 10 model. So 2 Mega Knobs for Gaz, one with both of them have a kill saw and a power claw to choose what's optimal option for your target you're going into. I like to pay for the 3rd Mega Knob if I can. It is definitely difficult for 35 points to kind of just put you in a weird spot, but if you ever can, people typically do. Well, of course, we have the 5-man unit knobs which had power claws, and then 2 5-man units of storm boys, which are pretty much copy paste printed on every single orc detachment, every orc list that we see for like this past several months. Shout out to our sponsors, the Baron of Dice, as they helped us do our Waaaghtaktiks dice. So shout them out. Check them out in the description, 5% off in the discount, because nobody likes taxes. And shout out to Baron of Dice. They allow us to do our paint competition. So thank you very much to them. So let's talk about Vincent's path to victory here. And of course, we're going to pull up a little bit info on his, the faction list that he lost to try to learn something from it. But of course, let's start with his win. Let's get positive here for Vincent, where he went into Glenn Ross. We have the Ultramarines Vanguard Spearhead. So how do you guys feel about War Horde? Huh? Because I got a feeling, guys. I just wanted to say this. Just came to mind right now. I have a feeling that all it takes is for Flash gets to get a buff. I mean, sorry, a nerf. Tank Busters to get a nerf, and War Horde will start be looking so appealing right all over again to everybody. Not that I want them to, but let's just say the GW starts overreacting like they like to do. So we have an apothecary with Ghost Weave. We have captain with jump pack, a judiciar, lieutenant with combi weapon, Rabute Gilliman, and then a tech marine, followed by an intercessor with one unit of assault intercessor with jump pack, a minimum size unit of blade guard veterans. I'm always wishy-washy on those guys. They seem cool, but there's like a 3-man unit of dudes. You just lose one guy and they're like, oh, the unit does nothing, so whatever. We got a Brutalis Dreadnought, a drop pod, eliminator squad, 2 units of servo turrets. Go, dude. And that's the thing what I said about a UKTC. You might be looking at that and you're like, what? I can never run those on my WTC train or a GW train, whatever you're thinking at home. There are some spots where you can set this up and actually get a decent line of sight. Still not meta. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this dude's running the meta. I'm just saying I can see maybe where he could set this up a little bit. Then we have a Gladiator Lancer, 5-man unit of Hellblasters and Furnace Marines, and then a Repulsor Executioner. Can't say I really understand what's going on there because it is Vanguard Spearhead for the most part. A lot of coming in off the table edges. Normally you would see like a big brick of I'm having a big brain fart right now. Centurions with last cannons and such. I'm not seeing those. Nonetheless, he put the pedal to the metal and got 95 points there. Then we move on to his second game. This is where he actually took his loss, where he went into another version of Space Marines. And this one is some things that maybe we're a little used to, but we're going to pull up some data sheets here so we can kind of look at them. We have Malnius Calgar. Now, if you look at him, you see there's a ×3 here. That's because he gets honor guard with him, so he gets 2 little bodyguards that are part of his unit. So that'll be important when I pull up his data sheet. Rabute Gilliman, a captain with honor vehement, lieutenant with combi weapon and artificer armor, 2 5-man units of intercessors. Oh wait, sorry, one's an assault intercessor. And then 1 5-man unit of assault intercessors with jump pack, a unit of company of heroes, 5 scouts, 2 ballistas dreadnoughts, triple vindicator, and then a impulsor. So vindicators, they shoot in combat. Strength 14, -3, D6 damage. It's D6 shots plus I think 3. Blast, but they can shoot in combat even though they're blast. They have a 2-up armor save. These guys are just annoying for the most part for most armies to deal with. It's not just orcs. Even our lovely tank busters don't love to look at these guys. You can, of course, a shock attack gun can melt them, but considering they still can pop smoke, armor of contempt, do all their little shenanigans, get cover, they could be quite beefy. They're quite cheap for 175. So base marines tend to come forward, with their dreadnoughts and with some of their other chaff units. But here's the thing about this company of heroes we're going to pull up, and Malnius Calgar. They tend to use this kind of like a spearhead of the army, and those vindicators can walk up and stand on objectives after. So typically, as an orc, you want to like touch those transport via tanks if you can't destroy them. But in this case, these guys kind of don't mind getting touched and bad touch. As they'll just be like, "Oh, we'll shoot in combat and we'll kill this your unit that you're slowing us down with." Yeah, wait, this is the other guy, right? Yes, okay, that's the other guy. Okay, sorry, I didn't erase the other guy's list. And where's my company of heroes? Here we go. Manius Calgar. So T6, he's in Gravis armor, 2-up armor save, 4-up info, 6 wounds, and then he also has honor guard with him. They're T4. 3 wounds a pop, 2-up armor, 4-up invuln as well. He has some gauntlet pistols that are shooting quite well, 2 damage pistols, strength 4. Then he has his actual gauntlets for melee, which are 6 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 8, -3, 3 damage, twin length. And then he has access to a sword. These are not extra attacks, so he can't use them all at once. You would have to choose. But the sword is I'm being dumb here. I was thinking about the Gravis Captain. This is the Vitrix power sword, excuse me. So it's like a better version of like a Blade Guard veteran because he's hitting on 2s, strength 5, -2, 2 damage. They get 5 attacks each for each one of those little dudes in here. Now, the real good part about this is not that when he's leading he's eligible to declare charge when they fall back, and it's not that he gets to give you 1 CP, with though that's a nice benefit. The real factor here is that while this unit contains 1 or more Vitrix Guard models, Calgar has a 4 of Feel No Pain. So you can choose to take 4 of Feel No Pains on Calgar or these Vitrix Guard themselves. Mind you, you can take these Company of Heroes as well, which make the unit -1 to wound, and they act as more ablative wounds in the unit. They give it some more OC as well. And then it comes with its own combat too. So you have these kind of like little thick missile of playing Hero Hammer, and it ends up kind of working out here. It does end up working out a little bit. The one thing here is you could assume that one, either A, there is a lack of resources to really kill these Vindicators or ignore them. Because as you can see, he kind of wants to kill stuff because he's playing with gas, he's playing with the beast bosses, he's playing with the Breaker Boys, and I know from firsthand, Breaker Boys can totally whiff into something like these Vindicators. Vindicators have a 2-up armor save. You can pop Armor of Contempt at the opponent, and then I've literally run up, thrown grenades, bomb squigs, and then hit them with Breaker Boys, and Vindicators survive. You don't make enough of the dev wounds, and then he just makes good enough saves because he's taking 3-up armor saves, no problem, and then he shoots away your unit over time in combat, and that can kind of end up happening here where you end up bouncing. So not always going to happen, but that's how this ends up playing off when you're going for full damage. You do have this 20-man unit, which normally would play off, but the thing it could just happen when you get unlucky. It's happened to me personally as well, where your boys, your 20-man unit of boys are in combat with the Vindicator, and it kills like 8 of them at a time, and you're just like, oh, I was not expecting that. Okay. So this list can be deceiving. It looks really elite. Like, how would that even be able to shoot through the orcs effectively? It wasn't like it was easy because he got 78 points himself. Would love to see what the mission was because hints for the future, we're going to cover another list from this event, and he also lost on this mission. So not sure if it was like Purge the Foe or what kind of mission this was exactly, but because Purge the Foe notoriously hard for orcs. So yeah, and this happened last week as well, where we covered orc players that were in events, and then they both were like, later they said, oh, we actually were playing Purge the Foe that mission. That's why we both lost. Like, oh, okay, I can see that. I can totally see that. So still a great job there, Vincent, for getting a 78 points there. Then we move on to game 3. What's up? Oh, yeah, I love my Battlewagon so much. Whoa! How do you feel about melee tactical brigade list? I guess I would need you to elaborate on what you mean by melee tactical brigade list, but I would say that in a lot of tactical brigade lists that I enjoy, you can run multiple beast bosses, multiple knob units, even simply 2 tank buster units and your mech and flash kits. So to what regard do you mean? Do you mean just like no shooting at all? If we're going no shooting at all, then I would just, it'd be hard to argue against War Horde, right? War Horde brings everything you really want. So yeah, but good question. Because I have one of my lists in my my app is written as melee tactics, right? So I was kind of exploring that, but I haven't really figured it out. Oops. So we move on to his third game, where he's going against the Necrons Annihilation. I couldn't speak English. Annihilation Legion. So we have Catan with the Nightbringer, or Catan of the Nightbringer, sorry. X-Mark Destroyers, 2 of them. Scorpack Destroyers, 2 of them. And then a Transcendent Catan. 2 Doomsday Ark, 3 units of 5 flayed ones. These are their infiltrators. Locust Destroyer, just an individual one for scoring. 3 man units of heavy Locust Destroyers, all with Exterminator cannon. So this is fairly just a much of, can my destroyers kill you? Yes or no. And my Doomsday Arcs, and then my Catans kind of try to hold the line. What I will say here is absolutely no chance that Catans hold up to Catans, whatever you want to call them, hold up to Gas plus Beast bosses in War Horde. You pop 5 of Peel No Pain, Unbridled Carnage, Fish for those lethals, 5 pluses. You buzz saw through one of those Catans. So nonetheless, not really gonna go your way there. Not too effective at popping Battlewagons. Now, could 2 Doomsday Arcs do it? Yes. Could the Nightbringer assist them in doing it? Yes, but there's definitely a good chance that they also just don't kill it. Good chance they also don't kill it. Therefore, you can stage up, and it takes a lot of them to commit. Of course, a 20-man unit of boys can just swarm. Just basic boys can swarm another Satan, because you got to think Necron players are very linear with how they use them because they're slow models and they're small. Just move on to the objective. I do my thing here. So be aggressive on them, take the mid table, and he did. 87 points right there. Love to see that. Move on to his 4th game, where he went to the 1,000 Sun. He called it the Red Tide. Okay. Yeah, we have Armin on Disc of Zeech, Infernal Masters, 2 of them, and then Magnus to run. Pretty light on characters. I appreciate that. 1, 2 5-man units of Rubric Marines, 2 Mutilix Vortex Bees, 2 1,000 Sun Chaos Spawns, 1 3 units of cultists, followed by 2 forge fiends. I don't hate that, right? I actually think the forge fiends and the mutilated vortex beasts are quite effective gun platforms for them. And they really have a hard time with just not having bodies. So trying to bring just some cultists so you can go forward with bodies to do something, just to play, because they really just don't have bodies in their armies typically, is respectable. And those spawns do quite well into most of our stuff besides something like a battle wagon, but they can still deal with that. Not, it's funny because Thousand Suns, I just remember from the beginning of the edition where they were like a big problem when they had their 10-man units of rubrics and they would be overwatching orcs with flammers consistently. And they were problematic for us, as those Mutilix, Vortex Beasts, and the Forge Fiends would be really effective at like popping trucks as such. So if you're seeing that in your meta, yes, we understand that. But something like a battle wagon is nice, to counter that. And just straight pressure, just dealing with understanding that you do have to close the distance on these guys, and the more you just try to delay it, the more of the inevitable that they'll just kind of chew you apart at their own will. 100-point game there. Love to see that. Then we move on to his third game. I'm sorry, for fifth game. What the heck did I just say? His fifth game where he went to Chaos Knight, where he went into a Lancer, War Dog, 4 Brigands, 4 Carnivores, a Beast of Nurgle, and then double Nurglings. Boom, good old baby not spam, which is something that you should actually expect, in my opinion, especially if you're going to like RTTs. If you're going to RTTs, or even if you're going to an event like a GT, you should expect to see at least one variation of Knights through your path to victory. Not that it's always going to happen, just expect that it's something to happen. So if you can ever pick the practice games there, you should go ahead and look for those, as it's its own experience because it's its own skew, something like this, right? Very important that you try to get multi-unit charges off sometimes in this, so you can kill and bring down multiple of those knights. 20-man units of boys can stick in combat with them and not really lose on primary, because that's the thing that they also have going in their favor, is each one of those bases of those Horde Brigands is 8 OC, which is a huge factor for you if you don't have something like a 20-man unit of Orc Boys. You do feel value in Gaz to a certain degree, maybe into the Lancer, that you feel like you have something that the Lancer can somewhat respect, alongside the Breaker Boys too. So that's cool. Just keep in mind, it's not that easy. You do appreciate that your trucks can keep you safe for the most part, but they have brigands. Brigands have their multi. They're not what they're called. They're kind of called multi melters, but they're called the Mahavik multi launchers. Is that what they're called? No, they're called the Doom's Breath Spear, Demon's Breath Spear. It's pretty much just like a Melta. These guys get additional AP, so they're really good at popping trucks like that, but not really battle wagons. I've held to deal with knights quite often. You have to deal with them quite often. It is mission dependent, layout, stuff like that. But for the most part, you got to be cheeky as an orc player, because they can just bust it off through you, and they're not really trading right well. Like one of these brigands is 165 in a beast boss unit, with Snagas is like 175, and then you're paying for the truck as well, for example. So it's not really like a linear trade right there. You really do have to try to take advantage of, okay, my beast boss plus this, the knob or a couple dudes is going to go into one of these knights, and then the other 9 Snagas are going to take advantage of the lethal from Gaz, and then they're going to try to re-roll to fish through that, and buzz through the second guy. So that there's certain ways that you have to deal with baby knights like that. So great job by that. A lot of time people overlook them because they're like, oh, just knights, I killed them. He got 100 points there. He did, but it does take for you to be a cheeky player and just actually get those multi kills off, and really meet the knight player stat check, right? Because that's really all the knight player is trying to do. So sorry, I was getting rid of a couple of those tabs because they were getting a bunch of them. So let's take a look at Vincent's path to victory one more time, for ending it off with 2 100-point victories, which we love to see, especially with War Horde. So double beast bosses. Beast bosses are a staple. Bam. They just have not gone away with the release of tank bosses and breaker boys, the new detachments, whatever it may be, index, rise and fall, from this to codex to whatever it's been. Beast bosses have held their ground. That is just something to say about how strong it is to simply have one orc character that straight up crumps vehicles with dev wounds, right? But I love to see it. And then he's just something different in this detachment. Then you have Ghazghkull Thraka, which really makes these units even more viable on the wall. Like I always say, when it comes down to wall and getting that kind of swing and momentum, Gas just make sure that it's more assured outcomes on the wall from getting the lethal auras. You're really paying for Makari. Gas is just the most expensive bodyguard at 40k. 2 war bosses, one with follow me lads. Of course, keep in mind that a lot of the time you're going to here we go with Gaz, and you're going to be happy that one of those gets has follow me lads, so he's not slow getting out of that truck. 2 snaggas, 20 boys. I like to see the 20 boy unit. Could there be a chance that the 20 boy unit was with the follow me lad war boss? Absolutely. And that makes it so you can touch multiple transports, multiple vehicles, multiple bad touch gun lines with the 20-man unit where you make the charge off on the wall, because it's not really about killing them at that point. It's about bad touching them. So I love to see that. Yeah, Christian Gaz, the bodyguard. 3 trucks, Battlewagon. 1 breaker boy unit. Like I said, they're kind of fighting with the knobs for do I want to be with that war boss? And I respect that. I respect that because it makes it so you can throw those units into other stuff that's around that point cost, and you're like, I think you can kill it, especially with just straight sustains. You can kill it, and you're kind of just riding the org data sheet at that point. So with sustain, so I like that. 2 5-man units of flash kits for those SWAT teams. 3 units of grots, because who doesn't love those little OC monkeys? 2 mega knobs with obviously their optimal choices of a saw and a kill saw. A power claw and a kill saw. Those knobs do have power claws, by the way, the 5-man knobs. And then 2 5-man storm boys, because they're on every single list. So shout out to Vincent for his great whoa. Be a cunning get and check out our new order markers that are in our store. So shout out to you gets being cunning. Help you guys get all the orders set on the table nice and clean for all you gets to get stuck in. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!